It's been over a month since I shared my thoughts and opinions on the Top Thrill 2 situation and all the new happenings. So I felt like now, with the testing starting again and workers inspecting more pieces of the track, it was a good time to do so. Now keep in mind, these are my opinions and everyone is allowed to have their own opinions with this situation. While the trains were the issue that caused Top Thrill 2 to close down just after 6 days of operation, you're about to learn why I think Cedar Point and Zamperla have a much larger problem on their hands. I will also share with you when I think we will see the next Cedar Point update regarding the ride and why the park's 2025 capital plans have been canceled or delayed. Daily operations are just weeks away from ending, and yet Top Thrill 2 isn't even open yet. And heck, the ride is barely even tested in all of July. But as of the last few days, there has been a lot more activity over at Top Thrill 2, including a few test runs. A friend of the channel who is visiting Cedar Point has sent me some of these videos of the current state of Top Thrill 2, and it's rather alarming actually. Be sure to follow the Real King Corgi on X for more updates, and don't forget to subscribe to them on YouTube because they create some great videos. In fact, they're focusing on the older Intamin track. Imagine that. Now, way before Cedar Point announced Top Thrill 2, I said in a video that Cedar Point should remove all the track and replace it with new track. Not just remove and refurbish the launch track. Because think about it, Top Thrill Dragster opened up in 2003, and the weather that Cedar Point faces is not ideal for a giant 420 foot tall tower. From the freezing temps to the sleet, snow, and lightning, and of course the wind, this track has gone through a lot. Not to mention, but just shy of 20 years, we saw these heavy Intamin trains cycle a few times every minute when the ride was open. And we have seen how Universal takes great care of their coasters by simply replacing all of the track when the coaster reaches its end of life. We saw that on the Incredible Hulk. And while I would think that it's too early for Cedar Point to replace the older track on the original Dragster, it would have made so much more sense to do so when they were converting it into the new ride altogether. Think of it this way, if Cedar Point wants Top Thrill 2 to be in operation in 20 years from now, they will need to replace the original track. Again, something they should have done before Top Thrill 2 opened. Cedar Point decided to go cheap and not replace the track that you can find on the top hat. And now, for what I'm being told, and what I'm seeing with my own eyes, the older track is causing a lot of issues. And apparently, there might even be some cracks in the older track. So while Zamperla is finding a solution on how to fix their awesome, new, but not reliable lightning trains, we have another team scoping out the track. But here's something very interesting that I would love to hear your take on it. The workers seem to be making markings and scratches on the supports that are newly painted, and I really do wonder what this means. So if you know, please let us know in the comments. Now, if you're looking for some cool coaster merch to wear in the parks, then check out keepridingcoasters.com for affordable, comfortable coaster merch designed by myself. I really do appreciate all the support, and I love seeing everyone wearing my merch in the parks. In the history of roller coasters, Top Thrill 2 might just be the most complex story of its failed opening year. So the biggest question that I have is, when will Cedar Point give us their next update? The first update that Cedar Point gave us was on 5/11 when they posted on X that Top Thrill 2 will not open today. We apologize for the inconvenience. Then, the very next day, they came out with an official statement claiming that they need to modify part of the ride vehicle. Then, Cedar Point went quiet until June 4th. That's when they gave us their next update, and they did say that Zamperla is continuing to work on the modification for the coaster's vehicle. Then they go on to say, while we don't have an opening date set yet, we hope to provide you with more information soon. That was the last update, almost 2 months ago, which tells us one thing: this issue is bad. Now, while there is a lot of negative buzz around Top Thrill 2, and rightfully so, we have to remember that Cedar Point will give us an update when they are ready to. And since no one knows exactly what's going on with Top Thrill 2, including myself, Cedar Point might not have enough information yet to share with everyone. But since I preach on being positive on my channel, I'm gonna stick to that. And I really do think that we will be getting an update by August 11th. We are fast approaching the fall season for Top Thrill 2, and there's a lot of money that's on the table for the busy Hollow Weekends event. So, if Zamperla can figure out how to fix Top Thrill 2, then the park can make an announcement in the coming weeks. Even if it's a few weeks away from the last day of operation, if Cedar Point gets the green light to open the coaster, I think they do simply for increasing the season pass sales for 2025. That is if the track issues can be fixed. And I honestly think that the original track does have some major issues, and I still predict that Cedar Point will have to remove all the original track altogether and replace it with new track, which would obviously put Top Thrill 2 out of commission until 2025. After I was able to ride Top Thrill 2 4 times on opening weekend, I instantly praised Zamperla for how great of a job that they did with Top Thrill 2 because it's the truth. I am not trying to throw any shade on Zamperla. You have to have this major coaster to be in operation to be successful. And Zamperla has failed us and Cedar Point on that. So am I the only one who thinks that Cedar Point is regretting their decision to go with Zamperla over Intamin? Because you know they have to be having second thoughts. And on the other side of things, Intamin is looking at the situation and thinking what could have and should have been. With all the turmoil around Top Thrill 2, another major question is, will Cedar Point be announcing any new attractions for the 2025 season? And the sad thing is, if Top Thrill 2 is open more than 6 days this year, Cedar Point would have gotten a flat ride or even a few flat rides in 2025. That was in the works for the 2025 capital. But now that Top Thrill 2 will most likely at this rate become the park's new for 2025 attraction, whatever the Point had planned to open in 2025 will now be most likely pushed back to 2026. Which sadly also means that the park's next coaster will most likely be delayed a year as well. Which really sucks since we all have to look at the empty plot of land where the old dorms used to be for a few more years. Because a Mock Rides Extreme Spinner that features 2 launches, a handful of inversions, and other twisted elements would really look good in this area of the park. And if you've never been on a Mock Extreme Spinner, then you're definitely missing out because these rides are fantastic. And just imagine a larger version of Plopsaland's Ride to Happiness towering above the Cedar Point Midway. If Cedar Point's budget allowed, this type of coaster could be in the running for the best coaster at Cedar Point. That is how great these coaster types really are. But the good news is that Cedar Point Shores will be announcing a new water slide complex, unless that's been cut as well, that will be located in the highlighted area here, which would really help out the park with capacity. Cedar Point is really a place like no other. It is a fantastic park that made a bad decision. A decision that's going to bite them in their butts 420 times a day. Now you have to check out how I rank the coasters at Cedar Point. A warning, I don't think anyone else will have the same rankings that I do. You can check them out in the video at the bottom of your screen. So when do you think Top Thrill 2 will reopen, and what do you think is going on with the ride? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and of course, keep riding coasters.